Hello everyone, and thank you for joining me for this foam roller class. A couple of things you might need: a pillow for your head if your neck needs support on the foam roller, and a flexi band or a magic circle just for a couple of the exercises if you wish, but they're not necessary at all. So what we're going to do in today's session is to cover some strengthening work, some balancing work, some flexibility, and I think that's probably about it. So I hope you decide to join and let us get started. So just taking your time to settle yourself onto the foam, and really sort of sensing that the pelvic end and the head are fully supported on your foam roller or half foam roller, because we obviously don't want either of the extremities dropping off the end. And then I'm just taking a few more moments to tune into my body and see what feedback the foam is giving me. And I can just sense, rather than staying completely centered, my body just wants to keep drifting over to my left hand side today. But hopefully by the end of our session, if anybody's feeling anything similar, we will have really found that central axis of the whole length of our skeleton. And now just allowing my feet to be weighted on the mat, my pelvis to be heavily weighted on the foam, and the back of my ribs and my head. So it's almost as if all of my organs are just sinking down and resting on the foam roller. And when you're happy that you're centered, we'll start with a little bit of breathing. So just lifting your arms up, wrapping them around you to give yourself a gentle hug. And then we'll breathe in to the back of those ribs and breathe out. Breathing in through my nose and out through my mouth. And then I'm going to change over my arm wrap, because here sometimes I can get clues that there may be a little bit of asymmetry going on in my body, and breathe from here. And one more breath. And then I'm lifting both of my arms up to the ceiling and just opening and closing my arms to release the chest muscles. So twice more, and we'll do a little bit more work opening the chest in about 5 minutes' time. And then taking single arms back. Just sensing as my arm goes back, those ribs stay down. So even here, I'm just starting to lightly connect into my core. And then just for one of the balancing exercises, taking both arms back at the same time. And then bringing both arms up. And one more, reaching my arms back, allowing my armpits to widen and lengthen, and then bringing my arms back up. So we're now going to do a little bit of core and balancing work. You can use weights in your hands as well, which might give you a little bit more feedback and a little bit more challenge. But just for today, I'm going to stay weight free. So my feet are nice and long and grounded. And again, that heaviness of weight through my body onto the foam. So I'm giving into gravity rather than lifting and resisting, especially if the foam feels a little bit uncomfortable when you first get onto it. And then from here, I'm just going to exhale and open my right arm out to the side, and then breathe in and bring it back. 3 more sets, just sensing what's my balance like. Can I feel any cheating mechanisms kicking in, like tightening in my left hip or scrunching in my left shoulder? So just that observation, and then comparing as the left arm moves. So is that foam really still underneath me, or is there a little bit of a wobble going on? One more set. And then bringing the arm in and lowering down. And I'm just going to have my palms facing the ceiling, just to let my chest open that little bit more as I go into 4 pelvic rocks. So what's the distance like between my lower back and my foam? And as we go into the last 2, placing the hands on the thighs and getting that sense as I tilt my pelvis towards my ribs and drop my waistline down, I'm reaching my femurs away to open up those hips, and then coming back. And off we go again. One more set. And then bringing my arms back down on the mat. And then just second exercise to challenge my balance. So all the time I'm doing this work, my core is obviously engaged. So I've got that lovely feeling of gentle pelvic floor activity. My 2 hip bones get the feeling that they're sliding in towards each other. And I've got that little cinch in of my waist as well. Neck nice and long and released. Inhaling, and then on my out breath, starting to float my right foot off the mat, and then keeping my core and my balance, floating my right knee up. Holding it here, keeping my core and balance, lowering my foot down. Same thing on the left side. So my heel floats up first, and then I'm floating my knee up towards the ceiling, and then floating. So I'm feeling my core working, whether my thigh is floating up, but just as importantly for that stability and using the exercise to strengthen my core as well as I lower back down. So we'll do 2 more sets with a slightly different focus. And I just want you to think about that back line of your body in relationship to the foam. So the challenge is, can we float the thigh up, keeping that feeling of body sinking into the foam, rather than any part of my body, my ribs, my lower back, increasing the lift away. So really tuning into what's going on balance-wise, organization-wise, and core-wise. Last one on the left side. Maybe I'm going too quick, maybe I'm going too slow. So just work at your own pace. Give yourself time for that feedback. So taking the balance work a little bit more challenging, lifting both arms up to the ceiling, my shoulders are rolled back and down and my ribs are relaxed and my core's engaged. And then on my out breath, without the use of my hands this time, floating my right knee up, holding it there, and then floating the foot back down. Same thing on the left side. So again, staying as centered and as balanced as I can, floating my left thigh up, holding it here, and then floating my left foot down. Ready to go back to the first side. And just noting as you're doing this, do you find it easier one side over the other? So today I'm certainly finding it a little bit more challenging with my left leg. So one more set on each side. So staying really centered through the back line of my body. And then lowering the foot, lowering the arms down. And then with as little use of the arms as possible. Floating up one thigh and then bringing up my second thigh into toe taps. So without lifting or increasing any of the spaces between my body and the foam, toe tapping down one leg at a time with as little use of my hands and trying to keep my shoulders really, really relaxed. Taking that a stage further if you wish, flexing the feet. And then the same thing without using my back. Can I heel tap down? The foot has further to go this time. That's why it's more challenging for my core. So if you start to feel your ribs lifting or your lower back overarching, maybe just go down part of the way rather than all the way. And then bringing both legs down one at a time, back into more of a balance challenge. So, breathing in, back to single knee float right side. And now can I lift my arms away from the mat, holding it there, and then either taking one or both arms back. And then holding that, can I come across on the diagonal? So my left arm comes across to tap my right knee and then returns back. And again, finding that central line of balance. So that cross-patterning movement just challenges my stability that little bit more. And then lowering my foot down, bringing my arms back, ready to do the same thing on the other side. So again, just taking time to center, to engage my core, and then floating the left thigh up. And then when I feel steady, I might on this side, because I certainly feel less steady today, take one arm up first, maybe not my second arm, and then both arms behind. And then that cross patterning, right arm to left knee. Finding my center. If I start to wobble around, one more set. And lower down. I almost lost it there, everybody. And then just coming back to rest. And then from here, lifting both arms up again, palms facing inwards, just opening the arms to get a bigger stretch across the front of that chest wall. Checking it's not tugging on the back of my neck. My arms feel in a good range in conjunction with my shoulders there. So really, really nice exercise for opening up the front of the body. And then we'll take that into Angels in the Snow. So, bearing in mind we're on the full foam roller, so there's quite a distance between my shoulders and my mat. Maybe I can only go out so far with my Angels in the Snow. I want a comfortable stretch across the front of the shoulders, across the front of the armpit, but I don't want to overstretch those ligaments. So if the height is too great, I might go so far and then just think I need to lift my arms up a little bit higher so they're more level with the top of the foam. And there I go. Full Angels in the Snow. And then reaching out. So again, I'm listening to my body. So as well as enjoying that angel in the snow, opening and stretch, sensing that my alignment's still there, my core's still working, and then we'll do that a couple of more times. So well aligned from head to toe, right and left side of my body balanced, outwards from that center line. And then just to finish this sequence, bringing the hands up the front of my central line, stretching behind, full circle round, left hand on top of right. And again, tracing the front of the vertebrae right up to the front of my skull. And then twice with the right hand on top. So drawing up, stretching like my body's having a big wide yawn. And last one. And stretching and opening. And then just before we come off the foam, a little bit of a massage. So the massage would work really well if you were on the half foam roller flat side down. Wouldn't work if you have the flat side up. But the balancing work would work really well if you had the flat side up. So those of you with just a half foam roller, play around with that. So I'm just allowing my body to roll over the top of the foam. So I'm just sensing the foam rolling across my left buttock, that area between my spine and left shoulder blade. And I can just carefully play around with the head as well. So it might want to go the same way. It might want to go the opposite way. So just playing around with that. So just using that foam to be parts of the back where I can't feel the foam whatsoever, but the bits that do will just give those tissues again from my center line, a nice massage out. As if I'm rolling out pastry. And we'll just do that one more set each side. And then in your own time, just recentering and then taking the foam away, ready for our next sequence. So next sequence is lying on our backs, and you can either have your legs lengthened away on your foam roller, or you can have the feet on the mat in the normal bent knee position. Hands behind our head, and we're just going to do a few sets of curl-ups. So inhaling, gently bringing the elbows a little bit higher up, feeling that length through the back of the neck, and then dropping the breastbone and ribs down, curling up, holding it there, and then lengthening back out. And again, inhaling, elbows to ceiling, lovely deep out breath, inhaling, and then exhaling, lengthening back down. 2 more sets. So in your own time, feeling that length through the back of the neck, my breastbones drop down, my ribs flatten and roll forward towards my hips, nice and open in the front of the hips, and lengthen back down. And 1 more. As deep out breath as you can. Breathing into the back and side of my ribs. And then breathing out, lengthening back down. Arms down on the mat. And then just roll the foam in. Just checking it's nice and straight. And we'll lightly place the balls of the feet on top so my heels are slightly lifted. And then just placing thumbs on the base of the ribs, checking my ribs are level. And then the same with my hip bones here. So really sort of sensing that connection of my pelvic floor gently drawing back passage to front, drawing my 2 hip bones in towards each other and my waistline cinching in. And then without disturbing that organization, exhaling, rolling the foam out, and inhaling, rolling back. And again, so just setting up the exercise. Is everything where it should be to get the best work out of my core? So those bony points I'm feeling stay in perfect organization with each other, and then rolling in. And then this is where, if you have a band, this is where you can start to use the band or a magic circle if you have one of those. So if you want a little bit more of a challenge, feet in the same position, arms are lifted and long. My core is engaged, my ribs, pelvis and head are heavy and down. And then this time as I exhale and roll the foam out, I reach my arms back. Breathe in, using my core, bringing it back home. And again. So because I've got the band, I'm having a gentle outward pull of my upper arm bones. Obviously, if you've got the magic circle, you'd have that little bit of a squeezing in. Good. And then really utilizing the breath and checking my core's working as I come back in. Breathing out, long stretch through the body without any lift. breathing in, bringing my limbs in closer towards my core, my torso. One more set. And then bringing it back in. And just for the moment, dropping your magic circle or your band, and then we'll go into a little turnout position of the feet here. So my knees are shoulder width apart, and then again, just fingertips onto ribs and hip bones here to check my organization. And then this time I'm rolling out in the turnout and then rolling back in. So we'll just set the exercise up 3 more, and as we hold that there, I want you to really sort of sense the top 2 inches at the back of the inner thighs are really squeezing and drawing together. Then I feel more opening in the front of my hips, and then rolling it back in. Because quite often I sense that it feels so lovely doing the rolling out and in, we can lose those little elements of the exercise that makes Pilates extra special. And then the same thing again, if you wish, so lifting your band up. So my core's engaged, my hip bones are drawing in, my waistline, but I'm just gently pulling my upper arm bones outwards or squeezing into the magic circle. Off we go again. So long body reaching away, and then that strong organized torso as I move away from the trunk of my body, and just as importantly as I come in. And again, deep exhalation. Inhaling back. And again, 3 more. So my body's feeling long and strong through its front line, through its back line. And last one, and remember to squeeze the top of the back of those inner thigh muscles, and then bringing it back home, and then just getting rid of the band for a moment there, and then bringing the feet up onto the foam, and we'll go into some full spine curls. So feet and knees are hip width apart, equal weight through both of my feet. Arms are nice and long. Inhaling, going into my pelvic curl, and then peeling the spine up and away, breathing in and holding it here, and then breathe out, relax back down. Off we go again, inhaling, pelvic curl, rolling up, opening up my hips, and then rolling back down. 2 more sets. Holding, and then peeling back down, just seeing, did that work at the start of the session on the foam roller help lubricate and mobilize any of those spinal segments that ordinarily are a little bit locked and tight? Good. And then from here, 1 more set with the legs on the foam, knee bent, so you can either choose to hold your band again and do some movement with the arms going back, or you can do some ab curls. So I'm inhaling, again drawing my elbows towards the ceiling, exhaling, curling up. Holding that, breathe into the back and the side of my ribs. For 1, for 2, and now as I bend my right knee in, I'm crossing over and then back to the center. And again, over, maintaining that height. And 3. So taking the tip of my left ribs over towards my right hip, 2 more sets, and reaching, exhale, inhale, last one, holding it here, and then lowering the upper body, lowering the leg, ready to go on the other side. And obviously, if you're doing your workout on your own, please do more repetitions than that. So from here, floating my right thigh off, bringing my elbows in, lengthening through the back of my neck, curling up. 2 breaths, so breathing in, side and back of my ribs, and then breathing out. So as I breathe in, I get that little bit more height automatically, and then maintaining that as I breathe out, ready to go over to the other side. So as my left knee comes in, I cross over to that, and then back to my center. So it's the tip of my right ribs going over to my left hip. And again, so on that cross pattern that we did when we were on the foam roller, bringing the hand to the knee when we were working our balance. 2 more. Last one. Back to the center, lowering the foot, lowering the head down. Just let the legs come apart, lift both arms up, and just stretch them back. Just opening up. Ready to come up to sitting. So from here, coming into what we call the pretzel position, if that's comfortable for your hips and your back and your lower back especially there, and just have a look that your hip bones are level, square to your front. And I don't know if you can see, if I had like a little bit of tape on my hip bones, my left one is slightly more elevated today than my right one more than my left one, but it feels comfortable everywhere. So rather than me trying to force that sit bone down, so just sort of find your range of comfort, because we're all different in our hips and our lower back, etc., etc. And then lightly placing my right hand on top of my foam with a nice upright spine, reach the arm away and lift. And then lifting my right waistline as I side stretch over. Breathing in, enjoying the length, and then drawing those left obliques down and bringing it home. Ready to go again. Inhaling, long arm reaching and lifting, and then exhaling, stretching over, inhaling, and then lifting up and lowering down. So as I'm getting ready to roll, I'm thinking about really lifting this side up, and I don't want to collapse into this shoulder. So there's a feeling that my shoulder is away from my ear, and then lifting and lowering, and then one more. Inhaling, exhaling, and then my left ribs down, and then we'll do the short side stretch. So taking my hand off the foam roller, and then we never go very far, but it can still feel really glorious. And then lift, one more of those. So lifting, gently stretching, so my right sit bones hunker down into the bed, and then lifting and lowering, ready to do the other side. So just bringing my foam over, switching my legs over. And again, the theme of balance using the foam roller. How does it feel sitting in pretzel on the opposite side? So hips square to the front, sit bones, if not quite level, don't worry too much as long as it's not hurting into your lower back there. Ready to go this side. So breathing in, lifting, and then over we go, lifting my left rib cage up and away from the mat, lifting up and out of my shoulder so I'm not collapsing into the foam, and then my right obliques drawing down. So it's very much a strengthening exercise. So my powerhouse is lifting me up and away from the foam, breathing in, and then down we go again with those right obliques. 2 more sets. Stretching over, inhaling. And last one, lifting. Over we go. Dropping my right sit bone away from that right armpit, and then it all gathers up to lower 2 of the short stretch. So lifting up, side reach over, lifting up and lowering down, and 1 more set, lifting and stretching and lifting and lowering down onto all 4s. So using the foam roller for a combination of flexion and thoracic extension. So just sort of playing around with how far do your knees need to be away from your foam, and then just checking, as always, that the knees are level and you're nice and upright. So energy through the crown of my head to the sky automatically sends my knees down. So I'm breathing in and just doing a little bow of the head. And then as I breathe out, really scooping and lifting from my pelvic floor, my lower abdominals in, and then I'm going to hold that C shape, breathe in, and then breathe out, roll up. So again, I'm just saying, just pausing to hold it, because sometimes when we get this flowing movement, we can miss those little nuggets in between of the practice. So as we do that again, so bowing down, creating that C shape, my heels are away from my bottom, so I do start to feel a little bit of work in my quads, and I've got that sense of opposition, pubic bone forward, tailbone down, curving. So I'm drawing the front of my body away from the foam roller, and then up I come. So I don't flex particularly well in my lumbar spine because I had 2 fractures there as a young dancer, but I do what I can do. Inhaling, little bow of the head. Down we come again, shoulders away from ears, fingertips lightly on top of the foam. And then from my C curve, working from my breastbone and ribs, allowing those to drop down to the floor, rolling my palms in, so really dropping my chest for that extension, and then curling my pubic bone forward, tailbone down again as I roll back up to kneeling. Inhaling, so just taking my time, holding that shape, and then from my thoracic spine, dropping down towards my mat, reaching the foam forward, inhaling, and then bringing it back home, pubic bone forward, tailbone down. 4 more times. Inhaling to bow. And then, of course, when we're happy, that technique's there, then we can start to keep it flowing. So we get into one position, and then straight away we come out of it. Because again, the speed I'm working at might be too quick for some of you. It might be too slow. But I really want to get that organization through my body. And 1 more set. Inhaling. So I think this makes about 6, but please, by all means, if you're working on your own at home, So just enjoying that extension, rolling back up, and then at this point, if you wish to, you could roll the foam out, lie face down with your hands on top of the foam, do a little bit of shoulder shrugging and rolling there, and then coming up into a little bit of a cobra type swan dive extension exercise. So from here, it's going into doing some more strengthening work now. So we're going to come to kneeling on top of the foam. So I'm just taking, it's just not on my kneecaps, definitely. So it's just sort of below that. There's a really nice little notch where it feels really sort of comfortable there. And then just sort of play around with the spinal position here. So you could either do a little bit of a round back. Here, not a big lift there, just a little bit of a C curve. Or you could work with a flat back, or you could interchange 4 of one, 4 of the other. So my fingers are nice and long, equal weight through both of my hands, lifting the energy of my forearms up and out of my wrists. So I'm not collapsing in my wrists, shoulders are rolled down and away from my ears, pelvic floor, lower abdominals in, waistline cinching, ready to pull the knees in. Pull them in, roll them out. So I just need to change my hand position there a little bit, and in and out, and in. Keep going, keep the core working, and whatever shape your spine is, keeping it that same shape. And 2 more. Last one. And then roll the foam away. And then, well done, just relax yourselves down. So just allowing the chest to relax. Arms can be long. Hands can be just in front of you, or hands can be behind you. Couple of breaths there. So coming to a seated position, ready for some rotation. So my shoulders are rolled back and down. My spine, of course, is long and lengthened. And I'm imagining there's a foam roller just sort of coming vertically up from the back of my pelvis to the back of my skull. So as I float my foam up, I don't want to lean into the foam or away from it. Inhaling. As I exhale, rotating to the right, thinking about the front of my left ribs rotating to the right, little in-breath, and then breathing out, coming back to the center, to the other side. So as I rotate left, I'm just thinking of the front of my right ribs rotating to that left side, and then back to the center. And again, so adding as I go to the right and the front of my left ribs go to the right, now the back of my right ribs rotate to the left, or turn to the left, and then back to the center, over to the opposite side. So my right ribs go to the left, the back of my left ribs go to the right, inhaling and exhaling back to the center. Little bit more of an add-on, same as we've just done. So we're going to turn around, and then without leaning back or lifting my shoulders, lengthening through my lats, holding the rotation, and then coming back to the front and lowering. Breathing in again. Over we go to the other side. So turning and lifting. Both sides of my waistline stay long as I return to the front and lower back down. And again, inhaling. Back to my right side. Ready to lift. Holding it there. Back to the front. And as my foam comes down, that feeling, can I grow even taller? To the left. Holding that rotation. And then back and lower, back down, one more set each side. And of course you could just keep the foam to shoulder height. So this is just a little bit of an add-on, just to challenge that little bit more, rotating and lowering. Last one. And hopefully after we've done those repetitions, you just feel you've gone a little bit further on that last one than you did on the first one. And then just coming to, I'm going to turn around, so I've got a little bit more length along my mat. And now just coming up to sitting. I'm on a very narrow platform, so I can't take my legs out any further than this, but obviously if you're on a wider mat, please take your legs out as far as you like to take them. So just sitting up on my sit bones so they feel nice and balanced, and then the foam just placed in front of me with a very, very light handhold. So just checking I'm not leaning back and I'm not rounding forward. And we're just going to do a gentle elongation for the spine and the back of the legs. So imagining my spine is like the pole here. And then I'm just saying, can I lengthen myself up a little bit more? So thinking about the crown of my head growing nice and tall, level with the top of the foam. Breathing in, giving me a little bow of the head. And then on the out breath, just allowing the back of the neck to lengthen, the spine to lengthen. Inhale and staying. And then exhaling, bringing it back home. Breathing in again, sitting tall, bowing the head. And I'm thinking about going up as I go out. I'm not thinking about going over and down. It's a completely different stretch. Back of my thighs pressing into my mat, my abdominals gently pulling in and up, and then coming back. 2 more sets. Can I grow taller? Maybe I can, maybe I can't. So imagine you're lying on that foam roller, keeping that central line. So we go up and out. Just letting the spine lengthen to where it wants to lengthen safely, and then drawing my abs and my head back. Last one, inhaling and growing taller as I bow my head. Last one, lifting up out of my hips, up out of my waist, just following that alignment of the foam. Breathing in, enjoying this last stretch, shoulders relaxed, bringing it back home, sitting up tall, ready to lie down. And just roll down onto your backs, hug your knees to your chest, and breathe. And if you want to, just a little bit of a rock around there, or you can even rock and round, whatever that might be. And just asking yourself a question, if I were to go back on my foam roller, would I feel more centered and more balanced? And then just lowering your legs down, letting the feet relax, turning your palms to face the ceiling, and breathe. You can obviously stay there as long as you wish to. But I'm going to roll myself over and say thank you everybody for joining me today, and to wish you all the most wonderful day, and hope to see you again very soon. Take care and lots of love. Bye.